afternoon, everyone. I, Mudita Raj, Assistant Professor, Delhi Metropolitan Education, welcome you all to the 30th episode of the Vibrant India series. I also welcome all our viewers who are watching us live on Facebook. Vibrant India series, VIS, is an initiative of DME Media School for celebrating 75 years of India's independence. This series will be a year-long exercise. As a part of this series, we invite inspiring personalities for online talk, interview, and interaction with our students. The invited personalities for this series are from all walks of life and all parts of the country. And today, our special guest is Mr. Ashok Pradhan, retired IAS officer and director, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Delhi Kendra. I would like to take a moment and introduce Delhi Metropolitan Education to our viewers. Delhi Metropolitan Education, DME, is an A-grade premier educational institute affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, New Delhi, and approved by the Bar Council of India. The institute offers BBA, BALLB, and BBALLB with BCI approval and BAJMC programs. DME believes in imparting world-class education to its students while training them to develop and enhance their skills. This education and training enables them in taking up challenges of the industry and creating a space for themselves with their competence and vigor. DME Media School is one of the most promising media institutes in the country. It offers BA in journalism and mass communication. It is recognized as a school focused on the growth of its faculty and students through academic and co-curricular activities. Major flagship events and initiatives of the school include BG Varghese Guest Lecture Series, Peer-to-Peer FDP, International Film Festival, SIFI, International Conference ICANN, and Britika, a convention of media students. And newly added in this list is the VIS, the Vibrant India series. It is our privilege to introduce you to our guest, the personality of the 30th episode of the Vibrant India series. I request Ayush Sharma, student DMA Media School, to introduce our guest of the day. Over to you, Ayush.
Mr. Ashok Pradhan is the director of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Delhi Kendra. He's a retired IAS officer and a former secretary, Government of India. Sir has an experience of more than 3 decades in handling senior administrative posts. He was the civil aide to army in the Northeast during the Indo-Pakistan War in 1971. Mr. Pradhan was the Home Secretary of Delhi in 1990. He managed relief and rehabilitation of lakhs of Bangladeshi refugees from 1971 and 1972. He was the Relief Commissioner during the 1984 Sikh riots in Delhi and was involved as a chairman in formulation and execution of Pragati Power projects as a principal secretary. He set up the Center for Study and Research in Indology and Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Delhi, and has organized a number of educational and cultural events at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. So DME Media School is proud to host you, sir, and I request the technical team to share a video showcasing few glimpses from his life.
Joining us today. It is indeed an honor to host you. I now request Professor Dr. Susmita Bala, Head, DME Media School, to please welcome the guest. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mudita. Vibrant India series is a tribute to all those people who made supreme sacrifices for the independence of our motherland. India will be completing 75 years of independence this year. We started celebration last year only. This program has been launched as a part of these celebrations. In the first episode of Vibrant India series, our guest was Brigadier P.K. Saxena, who served the country in 2 wars. Following this, Madam Bhavleen Kandhari, a known environment activist, Professor Ujjwal Chaudhary, Senior Media Educator and Column Writer, Dr. Nakul Parashar, Science Communicator and Director of Vigyan Prasad, Dr. Monisha Behel, Social Activist from the Northeast, Mr. Rajesh Badal, Senior Journalist, Writer, Filmmaker and Broadcaster, Colonel R.K. Dargan, Professor and Advisor at Amrit School of Communication, Amrit School, Noida, graced this program. To name the other celebrated personalities in this series, Mr. Ashish Kulkarni, a pioneer of animation industry in India, Madam Tripti S. Singhal, an entrepreneur and startup consultant, Captain Dhamveer Singh, a versatile personality and an army man, Madam Jyotika Kalra, member of National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Sanjay Banerjee, a sport journalist, broadcaster and commentator, Mr. Augustine Ballet, communication specialist with UNICEF, Captain Indrani Singh, a pilot and entrepreneur, Ms. Vibha Lakhera, a social activist, Mr. Arvind Gaur, a theatre personality, Dr. Sachidanand Joshi, a writer and educational administrator, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni from the Indian Army, Dr. Gurmeet Singh, author and global Hindi educator, and Squadron leader Prerna Chaturvedi, a veteran of Indian Air Force, were our guests. Since the beginning of 2022, Mr. Shambhuna Shukla, senior journalist, column writer and author, Mr. Lakshmi Shankar Bajpayee, an eminent poet, commentator and broadcaster, Sufi Sayyid Nizami, custodian of Sufi Dargah, Nizamuddin Aulia, Dr. Dev Aikar, media educator from the University of North Carolina in the US, Mr. Pallavi Fauzdar, an adventurer, motorcyclist and social worker, Mr. S.P. Rawal as an entrepreneur, author, Dr. Mirdula Tandon, doctor, social worker and entrepreneur, and Mr. Virendra Kumar Gaur, retired Inspector General of BSF and author, have graced the Vibrant India series. In the making of this country, we all play our roles. As a soldier, doctor, engineer, as an educator, journalist, lawyer, environment activist, social activist, as science communicator, filmmaker, as human right protector, army person, sports person, theater artist, a literary person, bureaucrats. So this is the Vibrant India series. Today, in episode 30th, we have an inspiring personality, a seasoned bureaucrat, educationalist, and social worker, Mr. Ashok Pradhan. Welcome, Mr. Pradhan, in Vibrant India series. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. I now request Professor Dr. Ambrish Saxena, Dean DMA Media School and originator and creator of the Vibrant India series, to address the gathering and take the program forward. Over to you, sir.
So it's a matter of great pleasure that today we have Mr. Ashok Pradhan with us. He is a very eminent person who has worked extensively in various fields. Obviously, he was an IAS officer, so in that capacity, he served the country at different levels. But even before, even after that, after his retirement, he has been very active. And for the last so many years, for a very long time, he has been into education, or rather, I should say, in education administration. And he is heading one of the biggest educational organization in this country, wherein a variety of education, right from management to media, all that is imparted. So, looking into the profile of Mr. Ashok Pradhan, we decided to request him to join this Vibrant India series, and we are obliged that he accepted our request. And as it has already been told, the kind of program that we have conceived and executed, that is basically about the illustrious personality who have made substantial contribution to the making of this country. And since we are an educational institution, the primary thing for us is that we can bring all those contents, all those people to the students, which can inspire them, which can motivate them to do something good, something meaningful in their life, which contribute to their development and also the development of the country. So going by the format of this program, the whole program is divided into 4 segments. After this introductory segment, I will request Mr. Ashok Pradhan to narrate his life journey to us. The objective behind is that we can get to know a lot of such things which would have contributed in the making of Mr. Pradhan. He would have met with so many challenges, and he can tell us as to whenever there was a challenge, how those challenges were met. And if we know about the achievements, the work that he has done, that can give us some inspiration to do something good at our level also. So that's the basic objective. In the 3rd segment, I will be putting up certain questions which will be related to whatever, Mr. Pradhan, you would have told us in your narration. And in the last segment, I will ask the student to put up questions to Mr. Pradhan, the queries that they have and wherein they are looking for answers. So to begin with, I will request Mr. Pradhan to please take up this session forward, address us all and narrate us all those things from your life, which we are eager to listen. Mr. Pradhan.
Thank you very much, Ambrish ji. I'm extremely happy to see that the DME institution, in which Mr. Dr. Saxena, you are a professor,
Yes.
and Dean in the DME Media School, have organized Vibrating Indian series in relation to and on the 75th Amrit Mahotsav, which is a great thing for any country. And India is extremely happy today to be celebrating or going through 75th year of independence. Everyone knows what sort of a difficulties, struggle had to be gone through by our freedom struggle leaders since the beginning of the 20th century. And they took about 45 years to be come to this. I'm extremely thankful to you for asking me to join this Vibrant India series and ask me to say something about what I went through during the year of my service. And that is not a service, it's a public service. As a public servant, my experience, if I think proper, is something has been quite unique, and it gave me that sort of an option to continue to do my work as a karma yogi without interest, without jealousy, without any other feeling, but to complete your one's duty, whatever responsibilities are given. That is what it is. I joined Assam and worked in Assam and Meghalaya for 5 years from 1967 to 72. There are a lot of things which I faced during that period. But one of the most important things which I would like to refer to is the 71 census, which I handled, the 71 elections which I handled. And for all this, I didn't want to say, but I would say that I was awarded for doing extraordinary work, doing my work before the given dates. But something most important which happened in my life was, as a magistrate in the additional district magistrate in Shillong, when it was part of Assam, I handled the 71 war matters. I handled about 10 lakh Hindu refugees from East Pakistan on the border between Sylhet and Khasi Hills, that is Shillong, and on the border of Dauki, which is the border road between East Pakistan and India at that time. And it was an extremely difficult period in the hilly areas where there were no roads, there was no water supply, there was no food supply. In those places, in very great difficulties, I handled about 10 lakhs of refugees. I didn't want to share, but the fact of the matter is that I happened to meet the refugees, some of them who went through a very, very difficult difficulties through while coming to the refugee camps from Sylhet areas. They were misused, they were oppressed. Some of them were very badly treated. Some of the women were very badly treated by the Pakistan army. And they all told us what was happening. It was such a painful thing for me at the age of about less than 30 years, that how can the humanity and human aspects can be so badly handled by army or the Pakistan army. But anyway, we did whatever I could do for those particular people. And then the second thing was that I had to travel to Sylhet even before the war. And a lot of security situations were there. I would not share as to why I had to travel, but I had to travel keeping at the risk of my own security. But fortunately, I was lucky not to have been attacked by the Pakistani forces, because most of the area was already taken up by the East Pakistan Sangharsh Samiti, which was taking care of this. So after that, another important thing was that I came to Delhi. I was in the additional district magistrate Delhi, and from 1972 to 1977, this was the area to a time when the emergency took place in India from 72 to 77, 75 to 77. And during this period, the type of political activities and were taken, how emergency passed on, everybody would certainly know. It was a very, very difficult area, time, and I tried to handle it as much as possible. The only thing I would like to mention is that during this period, I continued to keep my mind independent, committed to my duties, and not either taking any advantage or giving any disadvantage to anyone. And even when the Shah Commission set up to go through the emergency things, I am very lucky that I was not charged with any wrong thing having been done during the period. That was basically because my basic thinking to do my duties without taking any advantage out of the position, nor disharming people in any way, either for political reasons or for any other reasons. And this I'll tell you later on what our students or the DME should, at this young age, should develop their mentality in a manner that all their life they are successful people and they are out of any allegations or problems which can be morally incorrect and illegal. Now, having done that, I would say the next stage in my life was to handle the 6 who were affected adversely, very adversely after the assassination of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. I was made the Relief Commissioner Delhi and had to handle lot of relief camps in which number of sick widows were there, and the people who had been shifted from their own places because of the attacks by people who did after the death of Mrs. Gandhi. And I will only tell you one particular incident that in one of the, as a government servant, as a relief commissioner, I had to try to organize all the facilities which are required to be done. In one of the women's relief camp, once I visited, I was almost abused. I was almost very, very badly treated by the recently widowed women. And I did not take any offense. I did not feel bad because I could see their pain, what they had passed through, and kept quiet. But I would only try to mention that I feel extremely blessed that when I visited them after 4 or 5 weeks, having given all relief, rehabilitation, financial assistance, and whatever it is, now some of the women tried to touch my forehead and bless me from the same camp. This is only an illustration as to my work or my commitment, whatever I did as a service to the sick, and particularly the sick women, was appreciated by these people. This only was a very big thing for me. I felt very, very proud and very blessed that the same women who had almost abused me, who had such a critical comments on government and me, because I was a government representative, had ultimately tried to touch my forehead and bless me. This is a very, very highly emotional aspect. I don't know whether people will be able to appreciate or not, but this is what it is. Another thing which happened in my life was that when Punjab was going through a very serious position after Mrs. Gandhi's assassination, I was posted to Chandigarh administration to take care of Chandigarh administration and Punjab problems also, because Chandigarh is the capital of the Punjab state and the Haryana state both. So I had to deal with a number of problems from Punjab related in Chandigarh and also in the border areas. But in spite of those difficult law and order problems, I found that there was a Sukhna lake in Chandigarh. There is a Sukhna lake in Chandigarh, which is man-made, because Chandigarh is one of the cities which was constructed immediately after the independence as a capital of Punjab. But when Punjab got divided into Haryana, Himachal, and Chandigarh became the union territory thereafter. So that all these things had to be taken care of. But the Sukhna lake had, during the last some years, had completely died up, and it was difficult. People were feeling very unhappy that such a beautiful place, full of water, full of living beings, or the fishes, etc., in the water, was completely gone. Even the greenery was affected. So I wrote to the government and asked for certain money for this. Those days were very, very difficult for the government, and then no money was received. I thought what I should do to make Chandigarh people happy about the Sukhna Lake. So what I did, I organized a Sukhna Lake Society, and there got donations from the people of Chandigarh, and started rehabilitation of the Sukhna Lake by Shramdan. What is the Shramdan? Is people would come, dig the earth, take it out, and like this, almost 125 lakhs cubic meters of earth was removed during 2 summers from this, and the lake was restored by Shramdan. And not a single penny was spent from the government. As a matter of fact, whatever earth came out from the lake was used by the CPWD in Chandigarh while in the construction of the government buildings. Normally, the money would have been paid to get the earth for the construction, but this was used for the construction purposes. And one thing more, we also made a rowing channel, international rowing channel we made in this thing, and third Asian rowing competition sports were held in this thing in 1989, and it was this particular Saxena Lake work was so much appreciated that the government of India issued postal stamp on Saxena Lake relief and rehabilitation and renovation, and also in 1988 and 1989 in the Republic Day parades, the related to Saxena Lake, we brought out the pavilions and were taken out on the 26th Republic Day parade. So this was one of the major things for me to be happy in my life, to be able to do something for the society, for the environment and climate, which was something which was, by God's grace, it came successful. My efforts came successful and I was very happy about it. Now, another thing I would like to say that while I came back and I was Director General Tourism, Government of India, and had a lot of things to do. And because of registration, my work being done, I was made a life member of the PATA, one of the International Tourism Association. And I still continue to be life member of the PATA India. This was recognition of my efforts to improve the tourism facilities in India and abroad. I must also like to say that I worked for the Commonwealth Secretariat London for a number of years, and as advisor and visited, worked in many countries. And that was also an achievement. I was picked up by the Commonwealth Secretariat as advisor and worked for them. And since I do not have time much to talk about my experience and what I did in various countries, I would only like to mention that it was also achievement on my life in my career to work with Commonwealth Secretariat in London in the various countries, in various Commonwealth countries attached to that. Something more I would like to say is that I was posted back to Delhi government in about 1999 after tourism director. And what I could do was, I had in 1994, I had prepared the plan for the metro system in Delhi. And yeah, I was ready with the tenders for this, but it could not be done because no money was available to the government to do this. Then in 1998, of course, when I came back, the work was started. And it was what the basic concept and plan of the metro Delhi was, fortunately, my lucky opportunity. And this is how the metro in Delhi started. And everyone knows that Delhi was the first city in India, first place in India to have metro services. Now it is spread all over the country. Another thing was, from environment concern during this time, was that there was difficulty, there was feeling that the environment was being affected adversely due to the use of diesel in public transport, petrol and diesel in the public transport. So Supreme Court had taken a view, and I managed with great difficulty to talk to Tata and other bus maker company, Leland company. They were very, very difficult in handling. They said, "Kaise hum karenge? How do we make gas engines for the buses and three-wheelers, etc." But we continued, and we were lucky to implement this plan and removed use of petrol and diesel in the public transport from the buses and three-wheelers, and we started the gas buses, and what you call the gases. Gas availability. CNG gas. And CNG gas was not available always. It was not available in large quantities. We had to persuade the number of petrol stations to open this. And then the IGL company came into existence, continued to do that. And now, of course, now 20 years, 25 years, 22 years, you see how much CNG is available for these purposes. These were a few things which I thought I would mention about my career. And then, after working in the government for a very long time, and there are many things also, I retired from the government, and then I came to Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. It has already been said what I have done in the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. What this has happened is basically because after retirement, normally the civil servants or the public servants have nothing to do. But maybe, I don't know what is the reason, but I was picked up and requested by the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan to join Delhi Center and take forward the objectives of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, which I tried to do. And a number of new things I've started, and making new construction. I have been able to add 2 acres of land to the existing area, and only half a kilometer from India Gate, and where we are going to construct Center for Indology building and carry forward the basic objects of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan to promote Sanskrit and Sanskriti. This has been done, and a number of books on India's music system, old one, Natya Shastra, etc. we have taken up and started Sangeet Samaroh every year to mark and welcome the Bhavan's establishment day, 7th November 1938, and this has been continued for 13 years now. This is what is important. Now the question is, what I have said is basically, as Saxena Sahab, Ambrish ji asked me to have a little view or review of what I have done as a public servant, but there are a few things which I want to say and share with the students of the DME. Because what is important is, my career, events, opportunities which I mentioned, they are only illustrations as to what one can do. But what is important is that, what is the thinking? What sort of a attitude an individual should have? And for our students at DME, this is the right time to develop attitudes, philosophy, and thinking, which is ethical, moral, full of service to the society, along with one's own interest. I'm not saying that you become selfless completely, but selfless, to be self-reliant, to serve for your own services is important. Yet at the same time, you can do public service, you can look after the society, you can look after national interest. That is what is extremely important. In this case, I would like to share another thing. When I joined the service in 1967, I had the deputy commissioner under whom I worked. His name was Mr. C.R. Krishnamurthy. He was also an IS officer. When I started becoming as a trainer, training with him, I asked him, sir, what I should do. Well, he was silent for a minute and then said, look here, Ashok, you have cleared the UPSC, you have come out in the ISI, there is nothing I would like to say that you cannot learn the law, you cannot learn the various aspects of administration. But with all that, I would tell you three things. If you are interested, I said, I'm certainly interested. He said, as an officer, and this will be equally applicable to all the people who are serving, not in the government and outside also, and the individuals, that's the DME students, to note what is I'm going to say, because it is extremely important. What he said was that you should never be vindictive to your colleagues, to your subordinates, or anyone with who you are working with, even if they hurt you and they something about it. You must maintain your dignity and high attitude of not being vindictive with anyone. Number two, he said you should give respect to everyone, whether he's your colleague, whether he's your superior, whether he's your subordinate, and never be disrespectful to anyone in whose contact you are there, because this can create a lot of problems later on. The third thing which he said very important is that as a public servant or as any other service, you should never take credit of the good work done by your subordinate or your colleague. So what happened a lot is that some of the people just take credit of what their subordinates have done and do not give credit, admiration, or appreciation to their thing. So he said, no, never do it. If you don't do any of these things, your personality will be such that you will be appreciated by all people, your superiors, your colleagues, and even your subordinates. And this will make your life very, very easygoing without any problem. I thought this is very important for me to share with the students of your students, Ambrish, so that if these three things they keep in mind, they will develop a personality, because all of them will be working. They can be setting their own business. They can be serving somewhere as a teacher. They will serve as a government servant. They can serve in companies. But then these three aspects are extremely relevant to everything. So this is, I thought I must share with you. The last thing I would say is that as a young man, our people, they are your students, they should never get into laziness. They should work. They must be always active. Then if they have read Bhagavad Gita, it's a very good thing. Otherwise, read chapter 2, particularly for Karma Yoga. You do your duties without expecting, without any personal interest, discharge your duties. What will happen? It is not a question of you're losing anything. As a matter of fact, whatever you are working will come back to you. But then, without any self-interest, if you continue to discharge your duties, that is what I understand from the Bhagavad Gita's Karma Yoga. It's very, very important. And I would say, action wipes all difficulties. Action of thought, action of an idea, action on a feeling of environment, opinion, or ambitions, but with moral and ethical and righteous outlook. And if this happens, one may think sometimes, I've been insulted, I've been misused, I've been done this and that. But ultimately, if Karma Yoga or ethical and moral values, which are very important in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's education system, basic objective of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan is to have moral and ethical values passed on to all the students, right from when they join the school in nursery to class 12, and build their personality in a manner that they are very good human beings, they are very good citizens, they are very good children to their parents, they are very good family heads when they get into the major life. These are very, very important things. I don't think I have to say anything further. I do not know whether I've been relevant to your objective of today's Vibrant India series. But whatever I thought proper, I have shared with you, Ambrish ji, shared with your faculty, shared with your students.
Right, sir.
And with these ideas,
Ji.
whether they are appreciated or not,
Uh,
I wish they are adopted by your students
yeah.
to become good human beings
Yeah.
and successful individuals, successful national citizens of this country,
Ji.
to take this society forward, to take this notion forward, and also do universal service. This is very, very relevant today
Ji.
when we are talking of 75th Amrit Mahotsav,
Ji.
because it's a time to move forward, take India forward economically, morally, ethically, with the society and the nation in the world. With these words, I thank you once again, Ambrish ji, for asking me to join. And
Thank you.
I apologize if I have said something which is
No,
relevant.
not at all. Not
Thank
at all,
you
sir.
very
Thank you. I'm really thankful from the core of my heart. You touched upon all such relevant aspect, which is in any case necessary for everybody in the society, not only these young people, but for all the teachers who are obviously more than of the age of the student. For them also, it's equally important, and that was basically the reason behind that we invited you, because I myself have heard you so many times in the programs of Bharati Vidya Bhavan. So thanks everybody to be here in this session. It was good finally, because till the time this happened, Mr. Ashok Pradhan was able to do the things, to tell the things, whatever we were eager to learn. And with this, we wind up this session.
The first impression that comes to our mind about any college: tall buildings, big classrooms, large lobby areas, thick books, IT labs, assignments, class tests, and projects. Nothing besides that. Every hour, minute, second spent here help us carving and shaping our persona, cultivating innovative mindsets for the challenging world. Learning is a lifelong process. Sharing knowledge, inculcating values of life, spark the innovative horizons of mind. Fun and frolic is the nature of every nook and corner here. A daily dose of thrill we are sure to get here.